Welcome to the Christy Jones Show. This is your go-to podcast for living life to the fullest. I am a life and empowerment coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate. I am a woman passionate about helping others build a life that they truly desire. We'll talk about how to make the most out of every day, from setting meaningful goals to embracing the present moment. So join us as we explore the depths of living a life that is full of joy, purpose, and satisfaction. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Christy Jones Show. All the things to live your life to the fullest. Today, I'm going to talk to you about boundaries. I'm going to talk to you about how to say no. I'm going to talk to you on why sometimes we have a really hard time with that. Quite frankly, we can be horrible at it at times. And I want to talk about that. I want to give you some tools and some food for thought, some things that you can actually put to play in your own life so you can step out of the overwhelm, get away from that burned out feeling that maybe you're carrying around. Because ladies, I know if you're a woman listening to this podcast right now, because specifically, here's who I feel this message resonates with. You kind of, ladies, will fall in maybe two categories. Maybe you're a little bit of both, but generally people that have a hard time setting boundaries, saying no, either fall in the category of just uber wanting to be the people pleaser, wanting to be the person that's always liked. I mean, on the excessive side, right? And that hasn't so much been the path that I've taken. That I haven't dealt with too much conflict in the people pleasing side of things in my life. But the flip side to that, here's the other category. Then you might fall into this category. And this is the category I would fall into. A lot of times with high achieving women, we are hyper focused on doing it all, making it all work, taking it all on. And, honestly, if we want to get really truthful, a lot of times we do that because our ego is at play. Our ego is front and center, and we want to be able to do everything that is asked of us. It could be at work, it could be at home. I mean, a lot of times it's work and home, right? We'll take on that extra project at work. We have a hard time saying no. Sometimes we have a hard time setting a boundary. And you know who suffers? Who suffers is us. And we want to blame everybody. We want to be mad at the person that asked us to do the thing, to take on the extra assignment. We want to be angry and irritated at the outside reasons of that. But what I want to share with you today is we got that. There's no room for that. We have to stop that. There's no reason to place blame on the outside force when you are the one having the hard time setting the boundary. You're the one that's allowing yourself to say yes. So let's talk about that. Let me give you some things to think about, some things to put into play so that you can become better at setting boundaries for yourself. You can become better at saying no, because saying no should not cause you to feel very uncomfortable. And a lot of times when I'm talking to women, saying no, it really setting some boundaries for themselves, sometimes I can feel really uncomfortable for them. Just does not feel natural. So I'm going to give you a few ways to say no and practice saying that. It's another way to say no and to keep your peace. That's ideally, that's what you want. You want to be able to say no, to decline something, but at the same time, keep your peace, not walk away feeling so much inner angst and all these inner emotions and questioning if, gosh, I should have said yes and I should have this. No, we're going to stop that. There's no room for that. We're going to learn to feel okay with our decisions, and we're going to learn to say no and feel totally fine about it. And we're also going to learn to stop placing blame on outside factors, other people, and not taking personal accountability for it ourselves. So again, it's about being in that driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat of your life. You're making the decisions. You own the outcomes. You own the outcomes. Most things are going to work out. Some things aren't. Own the outcome. The great thing is you can, if it doesn't get you the outcome that you want, you're in the driver's seat. So you get to change the plan, make a different decision, go in a different direction, say no in a different way next time. So here we go. Let's get into it. All right. So setting boundaries, saying no. A lot of times women fall in maybe a mixture of the two categories, but it's either you're just hyper vigilant on being a people pleaser. And by the way, that is a trauma response, fear-based concept behind that. Okay. Conversation for another time. Or you fall into the category of being a high achieving woman that you just want to be superwoman, do it all, be all. And again, 9 times out of 10, that's just because it's our own ego at play. And we want to feel uber competent that we can do all of this. And you want to be the go-to person. Well, what in the price you pay for that, regardless of what side of that coin you fall on those two descriptions, the end result of doing too much of that is you're going to feel burned out, overwhelmed. You're not going to have that spark for your life. You're going to you gravitate too much in a heavy energy, in a masculine energy, and you lose all the fun parts of being a woman, because you get so bogged down and being overwhelmed, burned out, whatever word you want to put on that, but you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've most likely felt that before. And it all comes down to us overextending ourselves. So that's why some boundaries have to be put in place. We have to set some boundaries for our own good. We have to put the boundaries in place. You can't expect other people to do it for you. You definitely don't want to wait for someone to read your mind. The thing where we're like, well, you should have known. But should they? Should they know? I mean, should they really know? Or you could just take the guesswork out of it and you could advocate for yourself. There's a way to do that without being confrontational, abrasive, like, it's my way or the highway. We don't need any of that. We don't need that attitude. You don't have to bring that energy to setting a boundary. Okay. It's really not needed. So look at ways that you're overextending yourself. Decide areas of your life that you need to dial it back, learn to say no, set some boundaries, quit overextending yourself because you're just going to wear yourself out. So figure out which side of the coin you are on when I talk about kind of the driving force of you kind of fall in either people pleasing or you're in the hyper vigilant, I'm a do it all kind of person. So or maybe you're a mixture. So just acknowledge that. Take accountability for that. Okay. Then think of ways that you can set some boundaries for yourself. Because most likely there's a really strong one area of your life that you're really strong in just overextending yourself. And maybe you sprinkle it out and it's like in all areas of your life. But the bottom line is you have to learn to say no, because when you learn to say no to things that don't align with you, your values, your purpose, the goals you have set for yourself and your family, your household. So if you are choosing to do things that don't align with that and they don't help you serve your purpose, then why are you doing them? Because you don't want someone to be mad at you, Maybe you're doing it because you want them to think you're a good person, because you want acceptance. Maybe you have a hard time saying no and take on more and more and more and more because you, again, ego driven, you want to be viewed as the person that can do it all. There's a million and one reasons why we do this crazy stuff. So when you can acknowledge it, like first you got to recognize it, self-awareness, recognize that you have a hard time setting boundaries. Recognize if you have a hard time turning something down, saying no. If that's you, then pay attention to that. Think about how that's affecting you, how that's just wearing you out, draining, sucking the life right from you. Think about that. Could you really continue a lifetime of doing everything for everybody? For always wanting to be the person that picks up the loose ends, always being the person that, patches everything together because maybe you just you're trying to keep the peace. Well, that's exhausting. Let everybody own their own peace. That's exhausting. If you're trying to, kind of plug all the holes in a situation, let everybody handle their business. Let them be accountable for what they need to be accountable for. Quit trying to hold it all together for everybody. You don't have to do that. So learning how to say no, getting comfortable with that is very, very important. So here's a few. I've got 3 things to give you. Christy, I don't know how to say no. Well, here's 3 ideas. You just say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Now, sometimes there's this long, awkward pause after we say no or no, thank you. You can say just no, but if you want to soften that up a little bit, delivery is everything, people. Remember that. Delivery is everything. Intention, the way we deliver it, our tone, keep that in mind, okay? So we say no, thank you. And then there's a pause. So you got to be okay writing out the pause. You got to be okay sitting in the silence, especially if this is the first time you're going to be putting up a boundary and saying, no, thank you. Get ready for the pause, the blank stare, where they're like, what? Like, did she just say no? Did she say that? Get ready for that, okay? If you're new at this. See, okay, let me back up a little bit. We teach people how to treat us, okay? So think about that. If you've been showing up, and not so much how to treat us, but we show up, you've been showing up in your life, in maybe a particular relationship, or on the group of people that you work with. You're on a project at work. You guys are on a special assignment together, okay? And you always show up as the person that is, don't worry about it. If it's a last minute and we don't have anyone that's going to take it on, just dump it on her. She'll do it. Okay. So let's say you always show up as that person. Okay. So you've trained everybody how you behave. You've trained everybody with what your boundaries are. Okay. So the first time you show up differently, don't be surprised. Don't be mad. Don't be mad at them because they give you that. I'm sorry, what? Don't be mad. You've been conditioning them for a really long time. So, this could be the case. I'm not saying this is the case every single time. This could be the case, but you've been conditioning the people around you how you operate in the world. So then when you make a choice, which you can at any given time of the day, you can change your mind. Okay. So let's say you've decided, all right, I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to start, setting some boundaries. I'm going to be more comfortable saying no. And if it doesn't, align with my goals, if it doesn't serve my purpose that I'm moving towards, all the things, right? So when you show up differently, than you have a million times before, just don't be shocked that they are going to have a moment of like pause and maybe have a weird look on their face. Don't get all offended. Just handle it. Allow them to have their reaction. Allow them to kind of tilt their head and kind of look at you and go, what? Don't get upset about it. Because see, it's a process. You've just invited them into the new way that you will respond when asked a question. The new way you'll respond when you've always responded in a different way, and now you have a new response. So don't be mad. Don't cop an attitude. Maybe you just say, oh yeah, no, I won't be able to do that. But thank you. Here's another suggestion. I have my notes here. Another suggestion on how to say no and keep your peace. Okay. So the first one was just no, thank you. Second, I appreciate the offer, but this isn't something within my bandwidth at this point. If that's not your language, how about this? I appreciate the offer. Thank you so much, but that's just not something I can take on right now. Change it up. Use your language. All right. Whatever your normal words are, make it yours. But thank them. I thank you so much for thinking of me. I just won't be able to take that on right now. Period. First time you've ever said that, might be a pause, might be a question. You can just re-say what you said, or you could, if you want to elaborate, but don't get into trying to explain crap away. Okay. Well, and then this, and then this. No. Unless, and of course, the context of the conversation, I mean, that obviously keep that in mind, depending on the relationship or what's being asked of you. You may want to go into deeper conversation. I mean, you'll know. I mean, use common sense. Okay. But just thanking them for thinking of you, letting them know, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I just won't be able to volunteer. I just won't be able to take on that extra assignment. I just won't be able to be at the meeting Wednesday night, whatever it is. If it needs support, further clarification, and common sense is telling you, especially if you're brand new at this and the person's just lost, that you're actually saying no, use common sense if you need to support that statement. But also realize that just saying no is completely fine. No is no. I mean, think about it. How many times have you heard no in your lifetime? I'm guessing a lot. If you are in sales, marketing, which I have been many years in sales industry, the apartment business, right? Even before the apartments, and we're leasing apartments and selling apartments. Even before that, before multifamily housing, I was in sales. I was door to door, knocking on, going office to office. I was selling office equipment, copiers, then it was like printing systems and things like that. Okay. I heard no all the time. I mean, it's just part of life. Okay. So we have to get used to no, the word no. And when you hear no, you don't break. It just, and honestly, in a sales context, when I would hear no, I didn't get upset. I either needed to refine something that I was doing to do a better job. Two, I also knew that every no got me closer to a yes. And no just meant not right now for my customer. I just didn't take it personal. I just went, well, they just mean no, not right now. But maybe the next time. So you keep them. So when you're telling someone no, it's not like you're just on most topics that I'm talking about for this conversation. You're not saying no to a lifetime. I'm never going to do that. I will never participate and help on that. It's just, no, right now is not a good time for me. I appreciate you asking me though. So have that, learn that statement well, feel comfortable with it, know that's available to you. And then sometimes, sometimes there's those just hard pressed things that you have to be a little more direct and a little stronger boundary. And sometimes there's a third suggestion that I'll give. Sometimes on setting a boundary, saying no, sometimes it has to be something like, I'm just not going to participate in this conversation right now. I will not, I don't want to, I'm not, I'm going to go ahead and go because I'm not going to participate in this conversation right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go to lunch. Or if you're ending a phone call or whatever. I mean, does that seem hard? I mean, when I'm saying these things, do those seem like, oh my gosh, I could never say that? Or are you like, yeah, or I already do that? Or yeah, I could probably do that a little better. I don't really, or I can say it, but I never feel comfortable with it. I mean, where are you on the scale of that? And when something that's much more direct, like I will not participate in this conversation right now, so I'm going to go ahead and go, and I will see you on Monday. I mean, again, your tone is everything. You can say the same thing and be like, look, I am not participating in this conversation right now, period. Okay, that sounds a little different than, something to the effect of, well, thanks for sharing that with me. I'm not going to participate in this conversation right now, but I will see you on Monday morning and have a great weekend. Right? You can package that up a million ways. Just those are two examples. But your intention is everything. Your tone is everything. So saying no and you keeping your peace, there's so many ways that you can do that. So why do you want to set boundaries? Why do you want to be okay and feel comfortable saying no? Well, because you need to be efficient with your time. And we all have 24 hours in a day, do we not? We all have the same calendar. We're all going by the same clock, the same watch, the whole deal, right? 24 hours. We all have different capacities, I would say. I would say that and I'll just use myself as an example, my capacity of what I could do and or handle and feel, good, physically, mentally, was much different when I was, say, 20 years old versus now at 53 years old. And this is just me. Not everybody falls in this category, but my capacity of what I can do, my rate of efficiency, the capacity of what I can handle in a constructive manner is tenfold at 53 than it was, just say, at the age of 20. And maybe someone feels that they had a higher capacity at a younger age versus now. Every person is going to be different, but know what that is for you. But I know my capacity is high. It is high because of practice, and it's my capacity to be efficient is good because of life skills, the life experiences I have had. And I'm tossing these out there so you could be thinking of these things for yourself. Like the hard pressed situations I've been in, oh my gosh, I am so thankful for those. They have made me an uber, I call it a high capacity person. They've made me very high capacity individual. And I love that. I like that about myself. I really can take on a lot. A lot of things can be going on, physically going on, emotionally going on, and I have capacity to hold space for that and still feel good and still show up in my life to do the things that I want to do, that I need to do, that I like to do. And a lot of that, why I feel like I can be an efficient person, is because of the experiences I've been through, and I've paid attention to them, and I've learned from them. So the things that, that were really pressing that I thought would break me, they did not. I knew they wouldn't, but there's those times you're like, oh, this is going to take me out. Right. If you have anything like that in your life where you look back and you're like, that I wasn't sure I could get on the other side of that. I'm sure we all have those in our life. I definitely know I do. But because of those things, my capacity increases. So being efficient with your time, that is really important. So you feel good, so you don't feel burned out, worn out, overwhelmed. How do you become more efficient? Well, you get good at saying no, you get good at setting boundaries. You have to be aware of where do you need to do that at. You just can't take on every single thing that comes your way through the course of a week. You have to like evaluate, make some decisions, say no to some things, say yes to some things. You have to be thoughtful about how you are making your choices. So when you become efficient, I was going back to 24 hours a day, right? So we all have 24 hours. Why is it that some people just can get all that they're wanting to just be more, I'll use the word productive within that time frame, and others cannot? Habits, discipline, saying no, structure, and using time wisely. And for me, I will just use an example because everyone's going to see that differently on how they see as time, a wise way to use their time. If I have a 2-hour block of open time, always I'm going to make sure somewhere in my day that I have carved out time for my well-being. So my workouts, quiet time, or reading, whatever that might be, but something that's going to fill me up. Okay. Doesn't have to be, for me anymore, it doesn't have to be a long period of time. I just need to have a little bit of it each day. And I know what those things are. Those things that really just fire me up, fill me up, so I can be the best me and move forward. So I have to have that. My movement, my workout, that whole part of my life is very important because that plays into my efficiency. And then everything after that is going to really, like, okay, I have a 2-hour window. Then I have to be smart. Like if I have something that cancels and now I have an open 20 minutes, again, maybe I need to just sit here and flip through a book and, read some things that really fill my soul. Maybe that is what I need to do. But if I've already done that and I don't have the need to do that 20 minutes, I need to make I'm going to make the most of that 20 minutes. I'm going to see what I can put in there. I'm going to look at I'm a list maker. So I'm going to look at my list and say, what on my list can I slide in this 20 minutes that aligns, that ties into my purpose, that ties into my goals? So I believe we have pockets of time. And especially this is where and even if it's like, you're not trying to be this quote unquote productive in that 20 minutes, a lot of times what I hear women say is, I just don't have any time for me. I don't have any time to take for myself. And I call BS to that. Because you can find 10 minutes if you want to. You can find 10 minutes if you want to. I don't care if you sit and just stare out the window and just let your brain be free and daydream for 10 minutes. If that feels good, do it. If for 10 minutes you want to have a cup of coffee or some hot tea or whatever that is. But I call BS when people say, oh, I don't have any time. You do. You need to look at, what do you need to say no to that doesn't align with your goals, that doesn't align with your purpose, that doesn't align with what is important to you? I mean, I look at I know I have time that I'm like, okay, that wasn't a good choice of my time. That really just lost time. We all have it. We all do it. Even in my most compressed, busy times of life, being, single mom, working, all the concerns of the world, broke, all the things, I can find 10 minutes to do what I need to do to fill myself up, to feed my mind, to read something that's going to light my soul up. I can find that 10 minutes. The deal is you need to know that you're a priority, accept that you are top on the list. You are top on the list. You've got to nourish yourself. So you've got to get good at setting boundaries. You got to get comfortable at saying no. You got to understand that efficiency is something that we can get really good at. And it's how you manage your time within your 24 hours. It's how you manage your time within your 24 hours. And I just want you to walk away from this episode knowing that it is okay to have a boundary, that it is okay to say no, that there are many ways to say no, to decline something. There's many ways to do that. And that you don't want to just end up being the person that is like, oh yeah, just give it to Christy. She'll just give it to her. Just call Christy. You can call me, and if it is something I can do and it works I will, then yeah, I'm that person. And if it isn't, I'm always really honest. I'm so sorry. I would love to do that maybe another time. I just can't do that this week. And that's okay. And when you practice that enough, then and the people that you interact with are used to that, you won't get that blank stare back, like, what? Like you might the first time you try it. You might get that response the first time you try it. So be okay. If that happens to you, be okay in that moment. Be okay in that little uncomfortable moment. Which, let me just go into this super quick. Uncomfortable moments. Nobody wants to I don't want to have to deal with the uncomfortable moment after I say this. That's part of life. Uncomfortable moments are part of life. We don't get to go through life and everything is just peachy, rosy, smells like bubblegum. Doesn't work like that. Like there's a lot of parts of life that are like that. And then there are parts of life that aren't. And that's okay. That's the beauty of being here and living this life. We get to learn how to navigate in a positive way in both scenarios. We cannot like something. We cannot, like, if let's say you are saying no, and then you get that awkward response, or what? What'd you just say? Or the long pause. Okay. So if you find yourself in that moment, like it may not feel good and you don't have to love it. I'm not sitting here saying to tell yourself, oh, this is the best thing ever. I'm not into that uber positive bull crap where you're like, oh yeah, this is great. No, it's not great. This feels uncomfortable. Let's just call it what it is. This feels uncomfortable, you're saying to yourself, because now I'm sitting here in this long pause and this person's looking at me because they're shocked that I said I couldn't do this right now and I'm gonna have to decline. And now I'm having to sit here. So stay factual about it. I'm having to sit here in this moment that feels uncomfortable. My hands are sweating a little bit. My heart's racing a little bit. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. But this exact moment doesn't feel really good. And then time, it will roll into whatever happens next. So I only bring that up because, like, not everything in life has to be great. There are parts of life and things that happen that don't feel good. It is what it is. We process it, we feel it, we go through it, and we do what's next. That's just part of life. So saying no might have some negative feelings that kind of come up, but the alternative, let me say that word 3 times, is you always saying yes, having absolutely no boundaries, and being completely burnt out and worn out. And then if the unhappiness, irritation, all the things that roll into those type of feelings. And then what's worse is then you want to try to blame all the other people for what they're just suck the life right out of you. So let's come back to the source of that. And the source, like we are at the center of that situation. So we get to say yes, or we get to say no. That's where we take accountability for overextending ourselves. We take accountability for taking on too many things, trying to wear too many hats all in one day. So bring the accountability back where it needs to be, bring it back to self, and make decisions from there. Make decisions of either saying yes or saying no. Always keeping in mind that the way we say it, our intention behind it, that kind of sets the energy behind the message. And then the way we say it, the tone that we say it, that contributes to the whole communication of that. Well, I hope this episode has been helpful and brought to light for you the importance of setting some boundaries, times that you might have to say no, times you might have to say, I can't do that right now. And I want you to really look at, like, how can you apply this to your life? Are you a yes person all the time? Are you a strong no person all the time? Are you a strong no person that maybe could say yes more? Or are you a really, really strong yes person that needs to learn how to say no from time to time for your own well-being? All right. Well, if you liked this episode, if you found this helpful, please rate and review the show. Give it 5 stars. I would so appreciate that. Send it to a friend, family member, maybe someone that needs to hear this message. But maybe it didn't really resonate with you, but you're thinking of someone that you're like, ooh, they need to hear this. They would pull something from this. Please share it with them. But rate and review, leave some comments. I so appreciate it. Let's move forward, ladies, saying no and being okay with it. Let's move forward, taking accountability for our efficiency. Let's move forward, knowing that we're in the driver's seat of what that looks like. All right. I hope you may have really just make it a great rest of the week. Just make it a great rest of the week. We are in the month of gratitude, the month of Thanksgiving. In fact, I think this episode's going to drop on Thanksgiving Day. So anyways, I look forward to seeing you guys soon. If you're watching on YouTube, I do look forward to seeing you. And on Apple and Spotify, thank you for tuning in. And I will see you next week. Take care.